Hello, everybody, and happy Monday. Well, it's been about 3 weeks since the election, and things are starting to take shape. Now, you'll notice what we didn't do over the last couple of weeks, except for a little bit about the Trump bump. We've avoided politics altogether here. There's a reason for that. After any election, there's so much emotion, so much froth. To draw conclusions a day or two after an election, or even a week after an election, doesn't make any sense. But now, like I said, things are starting to shape up, and let's do a little bit of projection. So, what has President-elect Trump done over the last week or so? He started to name his cabinet. Let's think about these players. All right, you've got Tulsi Gabbard, lifelong Democrat, at least until recently, and liberal Democrat from Hawaii. You've got RFK Jr., all right, lifelong Democrat, but blue blood, more of the traditional Democrat kind of feel. His family goes back decades in that party. Then you've got Vivek. Now, he's not part of the cabinet, but clearly an advisor. Vivek Ramaswamy, he's a libertarian. That's about as far from RFK and Tulsi as you can get. Then you've got, Elon. Tell me how to categorize him. And now you've got the new, it was going to be Matt Gaetz with Attorney General. He's out. But now we've got Pam Bondi. She's actually kind of your classic conservative, what you would expect out of Florida Attorney General. Think about these cats and dogs. What's the common denominator through all of them? They are all disruptors. Every one of them, for some intent, is going in to break up the system. Think about what President-elect Trump is thinking of doing. He's basically saying to the establishment, if you want to call it the deep state, if you want to call it the bureaucracy, I'm declaring war against you guys. I am going to break this current system to smithereens because it isn't working, for me nor for the population. That's his message. How many of you think that the establishment deep state is just going to roll over for this? No. Survival is like the most basic thing to any person or organization. So, what has we'll call it the deep state, what is it doing in response? Well, I'm going to take you back now to September 13th of this year. So, that's just a little over 2 months ago. Secretary of State Blinken went to Ukraine and he promised Zelensky long-range missiles and long-range missile strikes into Russia. At that point, the Russians, this is no joke, they sent targeting data to our Pentagon saying, if you approve this, we're going to respond. Well, at that point, Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin races over to the White House and says, President Biden, we got a problem. Your Secretary of State's out of control. He's off the reservation. He can't promise this. And by the way, we're risking World War III. And President Biden, to his credit, said, we're not doing this. And if you'll notice, you haven't heard a word from Secretary of State Blinken for months. He got his wings clipped right there. All right, so now here we are, and we all know the news about the long-range missile strikes. What changed between September 13th and mid-November, where now all of a sudden we're firing these things in? It isn't just that Trump was elected, it was that he started to name this cabinet. And the deep state said, fine, you want to fight, we'll give you a fight. What we're going to do is we're going to lay two big wars at your feet as soon as you raise your right hand. So let's look at this. What is the expected response from sending long-range missiles in? Well, escalation. Now, how has Putin responded? Clearly, he is pounding the daylights out of Ukraine right now, by the way, with some very new weapons that we are trying to figure out right now. But there's another thing he's doing. It's not just the expansion of the war in Ukraine, but let's go to the map. If you're Putin, said, if you guys can arm Ukraine with advanced weaponry and long-range missiles, they're your ally. I can arm my allies, Iran, Yemen, Syria, with advanced technology as well. And what's happening? We had an Undersecretary of Defense, I wish I could remember his name, but he did an interview in Europe about 2 weeks ago. And he said, we are stunned with the Houthis, and we kind of make fun of that name. So we think that they're cartoonish fighters. It's not true. They're actually pretty good fighters. He said, we are stunned at their capabilities, that the high tech of the missiles they are now firing into the Red Sea and how professional this is and how much control they have now over the oil tankers running through the Red Sea. Tell you what, this woke up a lot of people to have that coming from a high ranking official in the Biden administration. How did the Houthis get all of these weapons and expertise and training? My guess is coming from Russia. What are they giving to Iran right now? What's happening in Syria right now? Not only are we looking at the escalation in Ukraine, we're now looking at the escalation of the war in the Middle East based on these decisions. And now you got to start pulling back and saying, wait a minute. So, because of power and control, President Trump saying, I'm declaring war against you guys. These guys saying, I'm declaring war back. And they're escalating wars. This is messed up. Now, have Walt and I kind of thought this through? Yes. Are we taking this into account with your portfolios? Yes. Is there more to this fight than just the military side of it? The answer is yes, but I'm getting a little long-winded here. So tell you what, we're going to take up the second part of this on next Monday when we talk about what the financial world is doing in response to President Trump's, I'll call it again, declaration of war against the deep state and how I believe it's going to affect your portfolios. So with that cheerful report, happy Thanksgiving, and we'll get back to you next Monday, and I'll turn it over to Walt.